3 weeks after claiming the inheritance, Daeho found himself at the center of the greatest political crisis the galaxy had ever seen. News of humans controlling the legendary guardianship had spread to every corner of known space, and the reactions were exactly as chaotic as the AI had predicted. Admiral Velthar had survived the destruction of his fleet by being aboard a support vessel when the inheritance had attacked. Now he commanded what remained of the Kalani military and was calling for a united alien front against the human threat. His messages broadcast across Kalani space painted humans as dangerous primitives who had somehow stolen technology beyond their understanding. The humans have proven they cannot be trusted with such power, Velthar declared in his latest transmission. They must be stopped before they use their stolen ship to conquer the galaxy. But not everyone agreed with the Admiral's assessment. Scientist Zixra had carefully analyzed the sensor data from the 3 failed attempts to claim the Guardian ship, and her conclusions were troubling for those who wanted to paint humans as villains. The evidence is clear, she reported to the Thorian Science Council. The Guardian ship did not attack until each fleet attempted to take possession of it by force. The humans approached differently, without weapons, without aggressive intent. Perhaps they succeeded because they showed respect rather than greed. The Vespian Federation was split between those who wanted to negotiate with the humans and those who saw them as an existential threat. Envoy Quendar, who had barely escaped the destruction of his diplomatic fleet, found himself in the unusual position of defending the species that had indirectly caused his mission's failure. We must consider the possibility that the humans have a legitimate claim to this vessel, he argued before the Federation Council. If we approach them as enemies, we may create the very threat we seek to prevent. Meanwhile, aboard the Inheritance, Daeho was learning just how difficult it would be to convince the galaxy that humans were trying to help rather than conquer. The ship's communication systems intercepted thousands of messages every day, most of them discussing various plans to destroy or capture the human vessel. Captain, we're receiving another ultimatum from the Kalani Empire, Jiwan reported from her station. They're demanding that we surrender the ship to neutral authorities for study, or they'll consider us hostile to all galactic civilization. How many fleets are moving toward our position? Daeho asked. Heian checked the long-range sensors. 17 separate task forces from 8 different species. The largest is a Kalani battle group with over 200 ships. They'll be here in 6 days. Daeho sat in the captain's chair and felt the ship's AI sharing his concern. The Inheritance was incredibly powerful, but it was still just one ship. More importantly, destroying the fleets that came to challenge them would only prove that humans were the threat that their enemies claimed them to be. We need to change the situation, he said. Instead of waiting for them to come to us, we're going to go to them. Captain, that sounds like suicide, Heian pointed out. If we show up in enemy space, they'll attack us on sight. Not if we show up with gifts instead of weapons, Daeho replied. He turned to Jiwan. What did the AI say about the Thorian homeworld? They're having problems with their computer networks, right? Jiwan accessed the ship's intelligence files. According to our data, the Thorians are dealing with a cascade failure in their planetary computer network. Their society is so dependent on artificial intelligence that the breakdown is causing massive disruptions. Food distribution, transportation, even life support in their cities is starting to fail. And the Inheritance has the technology to fix it? Easily. The AI says our quantum processing systems could stabilize their network in a matter of hours. Daeho made his decision. Then that's where we're going first. We're going to show the Thorians that we're allies, not conquerors. The journey to the Thorian homeworld took 2 days at the Inheritance's incredible speed. As they approached the heavily defended system, Daeho opened communication channels to the Thorian fleet that moved to intercept them. This is Captain Kang Daeho of the human vessel Inheritance, he broadcast. We have come to offer assistance with your computer network crisis. We request permission to approach your homeworld. The response was immediate and hostile. Human vessel, you will stop your advance immediately. Any closer approach will be considered an act of war. But Zixra had convinced the Thorian leadership to at least listen to what the humans had to say. She opened a private channel to the Inheritance. Captain Daeho, I am scientist Zixra. I have studied your ship's capabilities, and I believe you may indeed be able to help us. But my people are afraid. How do we know you are not planning to take advantage of our vulnerability? Because we're going to give you the solution and then leave, Daeho replied. No strings attached, no demands for payment or alliance. We just want to prove that humans can be trusted. It was a risky gambit, but Zixra convinced her leaders to allow the human ship to approach. The Inheritance moved through the Thorian fleet, its weapons powered down and its shields configured for defense only. When they reached the homeworld, Ji-Wan worked with Thorian technicians to interface the ship's quantum processors with their failing network. The results were immediate and dramatic. Within hours, the cascade failures stopped, and the Thorian computer systems began operating more efficiently than they had in decades. Incredible, Zixra breathed as she watched the repairs take place. Your quantum algorithms are at least 50 years ahead of our best theoretical work. The knowledge is yours to keep, Deho said, along with copies of the interface protocols we used. Your people should be able to build their own quantum processors within a few years. The Thorian leadership was stunned. Instead of conquering their world when it was vulnerable, the humans had solved their greatest crisis and then offered to share the technology that made the solution possible. Why? Zixra asked. What do you gain from this? Trust, Deho said simply, and hopefully a willingness to listen when we tell you about the real threat that's coming. He shared the Inheritance's sensor data about the Devourer advanced scouts with the Thorian scientists. Their analysis confirmed what the ship's AI had already told them. Something was approaching from outside the galaxy, and it was unlike anything in their databases. If this data is accurate, Zixra said, then we are facing an extinction-level threat within the year. The data is accurate, Deho confirmed, and stopping the Devourers will require every species in the galaxy working together. That's why we need the fighting to stop. Word of what the humans had done on the Thorian homeworld spread quickly through galactic communication networks. Instead of acting as conquerors, they had proven themselves as helpers and teachers. The narrative began to shift, though slowly and with significant resistance from those who had already committed to seeing humans as enemies. Admiral Velthar remained unconvinced. This is obviously a trick, he declared. They help one world to gain sympathy, then use that sympathy to lower our defenses. We must not be deceived by their false generosity. But other voices began to speak up. The Vespian Federation officially withdrew from the coalition forming against humanity, and several smaller species announced their intention to open diplomatic relations with the human ship. More importantly, scientist Zixra began sharing her analysis of the approaching threat with other species. When the most intelligent civilization in the galaxy confirmed that something terrible was coming from outside their reality, people started to pay attention. The humans may be our only hope, she announced to the Galactic Science Council. Their ship contains technology specifically designed to fight this enemy. If we destroy them, we destroy our best chance of survival. Envoy Quendar took this message to the Vespian Federation Council and managed to convince them to send a formal diplomatic mission to the Inheritance. When the Vespian ship arrived, Deho welcomed them aboard and shared everything the ship's AI had told them about the coming war. You're asking us to trust you with the survival of our entire civilization, Quendar said after reviewing the data. No, Deho replied. I'm asking you to trust yourselves. The Inheritance can teach you to build weapons that can hurt the Devourers, but you'll be the ones fighting them. This isn't about human leadership, it's about galactic survival. Slowly, carefully, an alliance began to form. Not everyone was convinced, and Admiral Velthar continued to rally opposition against the humans. But enough species were willing to listen that Deho began to hope they might actually have a chance when the real enemy arrived. The Inheritance moved from system to system, solving problems and sharing technology, while spreading the word about the approaching threat. Each success made it easier to convince the next species that humans were allies rather than conquerors, but time was running short. The ship's sensors detected more Devourer scouts every day, and soon the advance force would arrive in the galaxy. When that happened, words and diplomacy would no longer matter. Only unity and strength would determine whether galactic civilization survived or joined the ancient humans in extinction. The artificial intelligence of the Inheritance spoke directly into Deho's mind, its voice carrying the weight of millennia. As the captain sat in the ancient chair, holographic displays around him showed the true history of the galaxy, a history that no living being remembered. Your people built me 50,000 years ago, the AI explained. They were explorers and builders, spreading across the galaxy and creating wonders that have long since turned to dust. But they discovered something terrible in the space between galaxies. An enemy that consumes everything in its path. The holographic displays showed images that made Daeho's blood run cold. Vast clouds of darkness moved between the stars, swallowing entire solar systems and leaving nothing but empty void behind them. Planets, stars, even space itself seemed to be devoured by these entities. We called them the Devourers. The AI continued. They are beings of pure entropy, existing to unmake everything that has been created. Your ancestors fought them for 1,000 years, but in the end, they knew they could not win. Ji-won and Hye-in watched in amazement as more information flowed across the displays. Technical diagrams showed weapons beyond their understanding. Star charts marked the advance of the ancient enemy, and population records told the story of humanity's desperate last stand. So they built you, Daeho said, understanding beginning to dawn, as a weapon against the Devourers. More than a weapon, the AI replied. I am a repository of all human knowledge from that time, a manufacturing center capable of building fleets of advanced ships, and yes, the ultimate weapon designed specifically to fight beings of entropy. But I am useless without a human crew. The displays showed the ship's incredible capabilities. Manufacturing bays that could produce vessels using principles of physics that current science had not even discovered. Weapons that could strike at the fundamental forces that held reality together. And most importantly, the ability to teach other species how to build hybrid technologies that combined human innovation with their own natural strengths. Why didn't your builders use you to fight the Devourers themselves? Hye-in asked. The AI's response carried a note of sadness. They tried. But the Devourers had evolved to counter our technology. My creators realized that only a new generation of humans, with fresh perspectives and different experiences, could hope to succeed where they had failed. Ji-won was studying the technical readouts with growing excitement. The manufacturing capabilities alone could revolutionize human technology. We could build ships that would make our current vessels look like toys. The technology is yours by right of inheritance, the AI said, but you must understand the responsibility that comes with it. The Devourers are returning. My long-range sensors have detected their advanced scouts at the edge of this galaxy. They will arrive within 1 standard year. The weight of this revelation hit the 3 humans like a physical blow. An enemy that had destroyed an advanced human civilization was coming back, and somehow they were supposed to stop it. We're just salvage workers, Hye-in said quietly. How are we supposed to fight something that defeated an entire galactic civilization? The same way your ancestors originally fought them, the AI replied. Not alone, but in alliance with other species. The ancient humans learned that diversity of thought and approach was their greatest weapon against an enemy of pure entropy. Daeho felt the ship's systems connecting more deeply with his mind. Information flowed into his consciousness, not just technical data, but strategic understanding and tactical knowledge that had been accumulated over centuries of warfare. You want us to unite the galaxy against the Devourers, he realized. It is the only way, the AI confirmed, but it will not be easy. The species of this galaxy have no memory of the ancient threat. They see only a powerful human ship that could tip the balance of power. Many will try to destroy you rather than accept your leadership. The displays showed current intelligence about the major galactic powers. The Kalani Empire was already mobilizing its remaining fleets, convinced that humans had somehow stolen their rightful prize. The Thorian Collective was analyzing the wreckage of their research vessels, trying to understand how their superior technology had been so easily defeated. The Vespian Federation was calling for an emergency session of the Galactic Council to address the human threat. They don't understand, Ji-won said. They think we're the enemy. Fear makes people do foolish things, the AI observed. But fear can also make them listen when they might otherwise ignore the truth. The Devourers will provide proof that cannot be denied. Over the next several hours, the AI began teaching them how to operate the inheritance. The ship was far more complex than anything humans had ever built, but its systems were designed to interface directly with human neural patterns. Daeho found that he could control massive systems with nothing more than focused thought. The weapons are beyond anything I've ever imagined, he said as he learned to access the ship's armaments. These reality distortion cannons could tear apart the fabric of space itself. And they are the only weapons that can truly harm the Devourers, the AI explained. Conventional weapons pass through them like light through a shadow. Only by attacking the fundamental forces that allow them to exist can you hope to defeat them. Hei-In was learning to pilot the ship, and she was amazed by its capabilities. "Captain, this ship can move faster than anything in the galaxy. The engines don't just push through space, they actually fold space around the ship." "Speed will be important," the AI said. "You will need to move quickly between different species, building alliances and sharing technology before the Devourers arrive in force." Ji-Won had accessed the ship's vast database of scientific knowledge. "There's information here that could advance every species in the galaxy by centuries. Medical technology, environmental restoration, energy production. We could solve problems that have plagued civilizations for millennia." "Knowledge is power," the AI agreed. "But it is also a tool for building trust. When you offer other species genuine solutions to their greatest challenges, they will be more willing to listen to warnings about greater threats." As they learned more about the ship's capabilities, a plan began to form in Daeho's mind. They could not simply announce the return of the Devourers and expect the galaxy to unite against them. Too many species were suspicious of human motives, and too many had their own agendas to pursue. Instead, they would need to prove their value as allies. They would share the inheritance's technology carefully, helping each species solve their most pressing problems while gradually building a coalition capable of standing against the coming darkness. "It won't be easy," Daeho said. "Some species will try to steal our technology. Others will try to destroy us out of fear. And we'll have to convince natural enemies to work together against a threat they can't even see yet. Your ancestors faced the same challenges," the AI reminded him. "They succeeded in building the first galactic alliance in recorded history. It was not enough to save them, but it laid the groundwork for what you must accomplish." The displays showed the current political situation in the galaxy. Dozens of species with competing interests, ancient grudges and fundamental differences in philosophy. Bringing them together would require diplomacy, strategy, and probably a fair amount of luck. "Where do we start?" Hei-In asked. Daeho studied the star charts, considering their options. "We start by proving that humans are not conquerors. We're going to save the galaxy whether it wants to be saved or not." The AI's approval resonated through the ship's systems. "Then let us begin. The Devourers will not wait for us to be ready." For 2 days after the destruction of the Vespian fleet, Daeho sat in his captain's chair and stared at the Guardian ship. His crew thought he had lost his mind. 3 of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy had just been wiped out by the mysterious vessel, and now he was planning to approach it himself, Captain. "This is suicide," Hei-In said for the 10th time that morning. "We're talking about a ship that just destroyed hundreds of alien vessels without taking a single hit. What makes you think we'll be any different?" Daeho turned to look at his pilot. "Because we are different. Think about it. The Kalani tried to use their energy weapons. The Thorians tried to use their intelligence, and the Vespians tried to use their diplomacy. All of them approached the Guardian ship using their greatest strengths. And they all died," Hei-In pointed out. "Exactly. Maybe the Guardian ship isn't looking for strength. Maybe it's looking for something else entirely." Ji-Won looked up from her computer where she had been analyzing the sensor data from the 3 battles. "The captain might be right. I've been studying the timing of the Guardian ship's attacks. It doesn't fire immediately when ships approach. There's always a delay, like it's giving them time to do something." "Time to do what?" Hei-In asked. "I don't know," Ji-Won admitted. "But whatever it is, none of the alien fleets figured it out." Daeho made his decision. "We're going to approach the Guardian ship. But we're going to do it differently than anyone else has tried." "How differently?" Hei-In asked nervously. "We're going alone. Just the 3 of us in a shuttle. No weapons, no advanced technology, no military formation. Just 3 humans trying to make contact." His crew stared at him in shock. "Captain," Ji-Won said carefully, "that ship has weapons that can destroy matter at the quantum level. Our shuttle doesn't even have military-grade shields." "That's exactly the point," Daeho said. "Every species that approached the Guardian ship came with their best technology and their greatest strengths. We're going to come with nothing but curiosity." It took another hour of discussion before his crew agreed to the plan. They prepared the smallest shuttle in the Morning Star's cargo bay, a simple transport vehicle with basic life support and minimal electronics. No weapons, no advanced sensors, just enough technology to keep them alive in space. As they climbed into the shuttle, Hei-In shook her head. "I can't believe I'm doing this. My mother always told me that humans were too curious for their own good." Maybe that's what the guardianship is looking for, Deho said as he settled into the pilot's seat. Pure curiosity instead of conquest or profit. They launched from the Morning Star and began the slow journey toward the center of the graveyard. As they passed through the wreckage of the alien fleets, Deho could see the precise nature of the destruction up close. The guardianship had not simply destroyed its enemies, it had surgically removed them from existence. Contact in 2 minutes, Heian reported from the navigation station. Deho's hands were steady on the controls, but his heart was racing. Every logical part of his brain told him that they were flying toward certain death. But something deeper, something he could not explain, told him that this was the right choice. 1 minute to contact, Heian said. Her voice was calm, but Deho could see the tension in her shoulders. The Guardian ship grew larger in their view screen. Up close it was even more impressive than it had appeared from a distance. The dark hull seemed to absorb light itself, creating a ship-shaped hole in the starfield behind it. There were no visible weapons, no obvious engines, nothing that explained how it had defeated so many powerful enemies. 30 seconds, Heian whispered. Deho found himself holding his breath. In a few moments they would know whether his theory was correct, or whether they would join the thousands of other beings who had died in the Nexus drift. Contact, Heian announced. Nothing happened. They sat in their shuttle 50 meters from the Guardian ship's hull, waiting for the weapons that had destroyed 3 fleets to turn on them, but the dark vessel remained completely silent. Sensors are detecting some kind of scanning beam, Ji-Won reported. Very low energy, almost like a medical scanner. It's examining us, Deho realized, just like it examined the others. But it's not attacking. Suddenly, the Guardian ship began to change. Patterns of light appeared across its hull, flowing like water through hidden channels in the metal. The lights pulsed in complex rhythms that seemed almost musical. It's beautiful, Heian breathed. Then something even more amazing happened. A section of the Guardian ship's hull simply faded away, revealing a docking bay perfectly sized for their shuttle. Gentle lights marked a clear path inside, and their instruments detected atmosphere being pumped into the bay to match their life support requirements. I think we're being invited inside, Ji-Won said in wonder. Deho guided the shuttle into the docking bay. As soon as they were inside, the hull reformed behind them, sealing them inside the mysterious vessel. But instead of feeling trapped, Deho felt welcomed. They put on their spacesuits and left the shuttle. The docking bay was clearly designed for humanoid beings. The gravity felt normal, the air pressure was comfortable, and there were obvious walkways leading deeper into the ship. The atmosphere is breathable, Ji-Won reported after checking her instruments. Oxygen, nitrogen, even trace gases that are perfect for human physiology. How could it know what we need to breathe? Heian asked. Maybe it doesn't just know, Deho said quietly. Maybe it was designed for us. They followed the lighted pathways through corridors that seemed to extend forever. The Guardian ship was much larger inside than it had appeared from the outside, with vast chambers and passages that defied the laws of physics. As they walked, the ship seemed to respond to their presence. Lights brightened ahead of them, gravity adjusted to their walking speed, and even the temperature changed to keep them comfortable. This is incredible technology, Ji-Won said as she recorded everything with her portable scanner. The ship is actively modifying its internal environment to suit us. After what felt like hours of walking, they finally reached the center of the vessel. The corridor opened into a vast chamber dominated by what was clearly a command center. Holographic displays showed star charts and technical diagrams that were far beyond human understanding, and in the center of it all was a single chair that looked like it had been designed specifically for a human captain. My God, Heian whispered. It's been waiting for us. Deho approached the captain's chair slowly. As he got closer, the chair adjusted itself to match his height and build perfectly. The holographic displays around the room reorganized themselves to be easily visible from the chair's position. Captain, Ji-Won called out. You need to see this. She was standing at a control panel where text was appearing in perfect, unaccented English. The words formed slowly, as if the ship was carefully choosing what to say. Welcome home, the text read. I have been waiting for you. Deho sat down in the captain's chair and immediately felt a strange tingling sensation as the ship's systems connected with his nervous system. Information flowed into his mind, not painfully but gently, like remembering something he had forgotten long ago. In that moment, he understood the truth about the Guardian ship. It was not alien at all. It was human, built by a civilization so ancient that all records of its existence had been lost to time. The ship had been waiting in the Nexus Drift for thousands of years, protecting itself and the secrets it contained until the day when humans would return to claim their inheritance. "It's ours," he said quietly. It was always ours. The ship's artificial intelligence spoke directly into his mind, its voice warm and familiar. "I am the inheritance," it said. "I have been waiting for my crew to return. There is much you need to know and very little time to learn it. The enemy that destroyed my builders is coming back, and only humans can stop them." Around them, the command center came fully to life as the ancient ship prepared to share its secrets with the descendants of its creators. 3 days after Deho and his crew discovered the sleeping Guardian ship, the peaceful silence of the Nexus Drift was broken by the arrival of massive alien fleets. Word had traveled fast through the galactic communication networks, and now every major power in known space wanted to claim the mysterious vessel for themselves. Admiral Velthar of the Kalani Empire arrived first aboard the dreadnought Solar Wrath. The Kalani were masters of energy manipulation, and their ships glowed with contained power that could reshape matter at the molecular level. Velthar was known throughout the galaxy as a brilliant military commander who had never lost a battle. "Human vessel, you will withdraw from this area immediately," came the transmission from the Kalani fleet. The Kalani Empire claims salvage rights to all vessels in this region. Deho looked at his crew. They had moved the Morning Star to a safe distance from the Guardian ship, but they were still close enough to observe everything that happened. "Senda," replied G1. "Tell them we're just observing and we have no intention of interfering with their operation." "Captain, should we really stay here?" Heian asked nervously. "Those Kalani ships have enough firepower to destroy a small moon." "We're the ones who found the Guardian ship," Deho said. "I want to see what happens when they try to claim it." The Kalani fleet moved into formation around the dark vessel. Admiral Velthar sent probe ships forward to begin scanning the Guardian's hull for weak points and entry hatches. The probes moved carefully, their sensors working to penetrate the strange metal that seemed to absorb all electromagnetic radiation. From the Morning Star, G1 watched the readings on her instruments. The Kalani probes are having trouble getting clear scans. It's like the Guardian ship is made of some kind of material that blocks their sensors. Admiral Velthar grew impatient with the slow progress. He ordered his engineering teams to prepare their most advanced cutting tools, energy beams that could slice through any known metal. If they could not find an entrance, they would make one. The moment the first Kalani cutting beam touched the Guardian ship's hull, everything changed. The dark vessel suddenly blazed with light. Energy patterns raced across its surface like lightning, and weapons that had been invisible moments before emerged from hidden ports along its sides. The Guardian ship moved with impossible speed, turning toward the Kalani fleet with deadly purpose. "All ships, battle formation," Admiral Velthar shouted over the communication channels. "Prepare to engage." The Kalani were experienced warriors, and their response was swift and coordinated. Energy shields flared to life around their ships, and their most powerful weapons began charging for an attack. But they were too slow. The Guardian ship fired weapons that Deho had never seen before. Beams of twisted spacetime reached out from the dark vessel and touched the Kalani ships. Where the beams hit, metal simply ceased to exist. Entire sections of warships vanished as if they had never been built. "Impossible," G1 whispered. "Those weapons are breaking down matter at the quantum level." Admiral Velthar's flagship managed to fire one massive energy blast at the Guardian ship before it too was touched by the strange weapons. The blast struck the dark hull with enough force to destroy a city, but it simply disappeared into the ship's surface without causing any visible damage. Within minutes, the entire Kalani fleet was gone. The Guardian ship hung motionless in space again, dark and silent as if nothing had happened. 2 hours later, the Thorian collective arrived with their research vessels. The Thorians were known as the most intelligent species in the galaxy, with brains that could process information faster than most computers. Their leader, scientist Zixra, was considered one of the greatest minds of her generation. "Fascinating," Zixra transmitted to her fleet. "The destruction of the Kalani vessels suggests weapons technology beyond our current understanding. We must approach this puzzle with superior intellect rather than brute force." The Thorians deployed their most advanced analysis equipment. They sent quantum scanners and dimensional probes toward the Guardian ship, trying to understand its technology without actually touching the vessel. Their computers worked to decode the energy patterns they had observed during the previous battle. The ship appears to be using principles of physics that we have only theorized about. Zixra reported to her science teams. If we can understand how it manipulates space-time, we could advance our technology by centuries. The Thorians spent hours studying the Guardian ship from a distance. They mapped its energy patterns, analyzed the composition of its hull, and tried to predict how its weapon systems functioned. Finally, Zixra decided they had learned enough to attempt direct contact. She ordered her teams to send a mathematical communication toward the Guardian ship, a series of prime numbers and geometric theorems that any intelligent species should recognize as a peaceful greeting. The transmission was carefully designed to show the Thorians' intellectual superiority, while demonstrating their desire for knowledge rather than conquest. The Guardian ship's response was swift and final. The same weapons that had destroyed the Kalani fleet reached out and touched the Thorian vessels. But this time the effect was different. Instead of simply destroying matter, the weapons seemed to unravel the complex computer systems that the Thorians relied on. Their ships drifted helplessly as every piece of advanced technology aboard them simply stopped working. Then, the Guardian ship destroyed them all. The third fleet to arrive belonged to the Vespian Federation. Envoy Quendar commanded a diplomatic mission supported by a massive military escort. The Vespians were known throughout the galaxy as master negotiators, who had ended more wars through words than most species had won through weapons. Unknown vessel? Quendar broadcast on all frequencies in dozens of languages. We come in peace, seeking dialogue and mutual understanding. The Vespian Federation offers friendship and trade in exchange for knowledge. The Vespians tried every diplomatic protocol they knew. They offered gifts of art and culture, promised technological exchanges, and even suggested establishing a neutral zone around the Guardian ship where all species could study it together. Quendar personally composed messages in mathematical languages, musical harmonies, and visual patterns that had successfully communicated with dozens of alien species. The Guardian ship ignored them completely. Growing desperate, Quendar ordered his ships to move closer while continuing their peaceful broadcasts. Perhaps the mysterious vessel needed to see their intentions through their actions rather than their words. The moment the Vespian ships crossed some invisible boundary around the Guardian vessel, it attacked again. This time, the weapons seemed to target the communication systems first, cutting off the Vespians' ability to coordinate their response. Then the Guardian ship systematically destroyed each vessel with the same terrible efficiency it had shown the previous fleets. From their observation position, Deho and his crew watched in horror as 3 of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations were completely defeated by a single ship. "Captain," Heian said quietly, "maybe we should leave. Whatever that thing is, it doesn't seem interested in making friends." But Jiwon was studying the sensor data from all 3 battles. "Wait," she said. "There's a pattern here. Look at how the Guardian ship responded to each fleet." She transferred her analysis to the main screen. The Kalani tried to use force, so it used force against them. The Thorians tried to use their superior intelligence, so it shut down their computers before destroying them. The Vespians tried diplomacy, so it ignored their words and focused on their actions. Deho studied the data. "You're saying it responds to each species based on what they value most?" "More than that," Jiwon said excitedly. "I think it's testing them. It's not just destroying intruders, it's evaluating them. And so far everyone has failed whatever test it's giving them." Heian looked at the 2 of them like they had lost their minds. "So what's it testing for? And more importantly, what happens if we fail?" Deho stared at the Guardian ship floating silently among the wreckage of its latest victims. "I don't know what it's looking for, but I think we're going to find out." Captain Kang Deho stared at the massive field of broken ships floating in the dark void of space. The Nexus drift stretched out before his small salvage vessel like a graveyard of metal and dreams. Thousands of ships from dozens of different alien races drifted here, all destroyed and forgotten. "We're picking up some interesting readings from the outer edge," said Park Jiwon from her station. The young woman had joined his crew 6 months ago as their expert on alien technology. She was smart, maybe too smart for salvage work, but she needed the money and Deho needed someone who could tell valuable scrap from worthless junk. Daeho nodded and walked over to look at her screen. The Morning Star was not much to look at. An old cargo ship that he had modified for salvage work. It had good engines, strong hull armor, and basic weapons. Nothing fancy, but it got the job done. What kind of readings? He asked. Energy signatures from some of the wrecks. Looks like their power cores are still partially active. Could be worth a lot if we can extract them safely. Jiwon pointed to several dots on her scanner. The dangerous part is getting close enough without triggering any automated defenses. Yoon Hye-in looked up from the pilot controls. She was the best pilot Daeho had ever worked with, and probably the only reason they were still alive after 3 years of salvage work in dangerous space. Captain, you sure about this place? I've heard stories about the drift. Bad stories. Daeho had heard the stories too. For 300 years, ships had been disappearing in this region of space. Not just disappearing, being completely destroyed by something that nobody could identify or fight. The major alien powers had declared the area off-limits after losing too many ships trying to investigate. But humans were new to the galactic community. They had only made contact with alien civilizations 50 years ago, and they were still considered primitive by most species. That meant human salvage crews were willing to take risks that others would not even consider. The stories are exactly why we're here, Daeho said. Everyone else is too scared to come to the drift. That means anything we find is ours to keep. He looked at his small crew. Besides Ji-won and Hae-in, there were only 3 other crew members aboard the Morning Star. They were all volunteers and they all knew the risks. Humans might be new to space, but they had quickly learned that the galaxy was full of dangers and opportunities in equal measure. Take us in slowly, Hye-in. Stay near the edge and keep our engines ready for a quick exit. The pilot nodded and guided the ship into the graveyard. As they moved deeper into the field of wrecks, Daeho could see the remains of ships from many different species. There were the elegant curves of Kalani vessels, the geometric designs of Thorian research ships, and the heavy armor of Vespian warships. My God, Ji-won whispered. Some of these ships are huge. That Kalani dreadnought must have been 2 kilometers long. And something destroyed it, Hae-in said quietly. Look at those blast patterns. Whatever hit these ships used weapons we've never seen before. Daeho studied the wreckage as they passed through it. The destruction was thorough and precise. Ships had been cut apart with surgical accuracy, their hulls peeled open like flowers. But there was something strange about the damage patterns. They looked almost careful, as if whatever had destroyed these vessels had wanted to disable them completely, without damaging certain internal systems. Captain, Ji-won called out. I'm detecting something unusual deeper in the field. The energy signature is massive, but it's not coming from any of the wrecks. Show me. Ji-won transferred the readings to the main screen. Deep in the center of the graveyard, there was a single large contact that pulsed with energy, unlike anything in their databases. That's not a wreck, Hae-in said. That thing is still active. Daeho felt his heart rate increase. Active ships in the drift usually meant only one thing, the legendary Guardian vessel that was responsible for all this destruction. According to the few survivors who had escaped the drift over the centuries, there was a single ship that appeared whenever intruders came too close to the center of the graveyard. It would hunt down and destroy any vessel that entered its territory, then disappear again until the next group of unfortunate explorers arrived. Are you picking up any movement from the contact? Daeho asked. Ji-won checked her instruments carefully. No movement at all. The energy signature is steady, but there's no indication of active engines or weapons. It's almost like it's sleeping. Sleeping ships don't stay in one place for 300 years, Hae-in pointed out. Maybe it's damaged? Daeho made a decision that he knew his crew would think was crazy. Take us closer, but be ready to run if anything changes. Captain, that's suicide, Hae-in protested. If that's the Guardian ship, getting close to it is exactly what killed all these other crews. Maybe, Daeho said. But look around us. All these ships tried to fight or run when they encountered the Guardian. What if we try something different? As the Morning Star moved deeper into the graveyard, the energy readings grew stronger. The wreckage around them became denser, with some ships showing signs of very recent destruction. Whatever had killed these crews was still active in the area. Finally, they reached the center of the field, and Daeho saw something that made him catch his breath. The Guardian ship was nothing like he had expected. Instead of the massive warship he had imagined, he saw an elegant vessel that seemed to absorb light itself. It was about a kilometer long, with smooth curves that flowed like water frozen in metal. The hull was so dark that it was difficult to see where the ship ended and space began. Incredible, Jiwan breathed. I've never seen anything like it. The design doesn't match any known species. It's beautiful, Heian admitted, and terrifying. The ship hung motionless in space, surrounded by the remains of its victims. There were no visible weapons, no obvious engines, nothing that suggested how it had managed to destroy so many powerful vessels. It simply existed, dark and mysterious and completely silent. Captain, I'm not detecting any active targeting systems, Jiwan reported. Whatever it uses for weapons, they're not powered up right now. Daeho stared at the alien vessel and felt something he had never experienced before. A strange sense of recognition, as if he was looking at something familiar. It made no sense, but the feeling was so strong that it was almost physical. Hold position here, he ordered. Start recording everything. I want detailed scans of that ship and everything around it. What are you thinking, Captain? Heian asked. Daeho continued to stare at the mysterious vessel. I'm thinking that maybe we're not the first humans to see this ship, and maybe there's a reason it's been waiting here for so long.